Hello and welcome to Before the Shot. I'm Julie Kimpton, Senior Professional Markets Manager at Nikon Australia. It's been a super exciting week for all of us at Nikon as we announced the release of the incredible powerhouse, the Z9 full-frame professional mirrorless camera. The Z9 is packed with outstanding features, including a new X-Speed 7 processor, a 45 megapixel stacked Cmos sensor, 8K 30p internal video recording for over 2 hours, and a lightning fast autofocus system that will absolutely knock your socks off. This is a camera to suit everyone from all creative genres, high-end fashion, commercial work, to landscape, wildlife, weddings, portraits, and video. We have been inundated with questions from photographers from around the world, and we will try to cover all of these off. So to tell you how it performs in real life, we asked 6 award-winning photographers from 6 different countries across different genres of photography to put it through its paces, share their experiences, and answer your questions on the Z9. So, to detail her experience shooting high-end fashion with the Z9, we welcome Leong Yat Ting, also known as Ling Mo, or Mo by her creative friends.
Hello,
Mo,
hello.
hey Mo, welcome. Mo is a renowned photographer from Hong Kong. Her fashion photography has been noted for its bold yet creative expressions of imagination that portray a unique, bizarre, but delightful depiction beyond reality. As one of Hong Kong's most influential fashion photographers, her clients range from the North Face and Timberland to Hypebeast and Vogue Hong Kong. And besides fashion, Mo also dabbles in documentary photography, where she captures the narratives of society from the observations around her. Welcome, Mo.
Thank you.
To answer all of your questions around wildlife photography with the Z9, we welcome Majed Alza Abi. Welcome, Majed.
Hi, thank you so much.
You're welcome. So good to have you here. Majed is a wildlife photographer and a Nikon Kuwait ambassador. Majed is a multi-award-winning photographer, having won Bird Photographer of the Year in 2020 and BBC Wildlife Photographer of the Year in 2021. Along with his accolades, Majed is passionate about educating the next generation of photographers and uses his YouTube channel, Majed Photos, to conduct workshops and courses and share his knowledge. Majed is also a talented graphic and web designer who dedicates much of his spare time to supporting various non-profit organisations. His acclaimed photography works have been a frequent feature in National Geographic. Welcome, Majed. So good to have you join us.
Thank you so much.
And to answer all of your questions about the Z9 autofocus tracking and frame rates, we invited Andrew J.K. Tan, action and wildlife photographer from Singapore. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, Julie.
Andrew is an international award-winning photographer with over 35 years of experience. His work has been published across various global media. While he refers to himself as an action and wildlife photographer, Andrew is also widely known for being a highly versatile creative in all genres of photography. Andrew is a very familiar face in the local photography scene with Mentorgraphy, and he founded Mentorgraphians Group in 2012 to cultivate a passion for photography amongst his followers and those who also love photography. So welcome again, Andrew.
Thank you very much. Glad to join you guys all online.
We love having you with us.
Thank you.
So a little closer to home to chat about her experience shooting Z9 both in studio and on location at a barrel race from Perth, Western Australia, we welcome Steph King. Steph,
Hi, everyone.
Hey, Steph, thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
Steph is a multi-award-winning editorial and advertising photographer. Her projects weave stories of the personalities she captures on camera. With a portfolio that spans over 15 years in the industry, Steph has photographed some of Australia's best and brightest talents. Her works have been featured in various local and international magazines, advertisements and media campaigns, including Harper's Bazaar, the Walt Disney Company, Tourism Australia, and of course, Nikon. Welcome, Steph.
Thank you.
To reinforce how good the Z9 performed tracking birds and capturing wildlife, we welcome Dara Nafafet from Thailand. Dara has a strong passion and love for nature and wildlife, and over the past 7 years, her passion has become her profession as she documented and shared incredible images of Mother Nature with the world. Even in the harshest and most unfavourable environments, Dara always strives to document the way wildlife and nature interact with each other to provide a view and appreciation of Earth's natural habitats. Dara is also a part of the local group called Bird Home that shares tips on locations and bird photography with the wider community. Welcome, Dara.
สวัสดีค่ะ Thank you, Julia.
Oh, I love your Harry Potter skills there with you disappearing from view. We love having you present. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And last but certainly not least, from India, we welcome Arjun Thomas. Welcome, Arjun.
Julie for introducing.
Arjun is the founder of Tuesday Lights, one of India's leading wedding film production companies. As one of the most highly sought after professionals of the industry, Arjun was also one of the judges of the All India MBA photography competition and the Model UN conference held in Jhansi. He has notably worked on various local Malayalam films, including Mikhail, June, and Love Action Drama. Arjun is also one of Nikon India's Nikon expertise who shares his creations and knowledge with the local community. Arjun will be sharing his experience shooting weddings, portraits, and with video. Welcome again, Arjun.
Thank you, Julie. I'm grateful here to be part of this panel.
We're really grateful to have you here. Thank you. So welcome everybody. It is so fabulous to have you join us and take us through your experience with the Z9, and we look forward to having you answer many of the questions from our home viewers. So let's get started and start with the one thing everybody is asking us about, and that is autofocus. So Mo, please tell us, we've had lots of questions from the audience about how well the Z9 performs for fashion work, for fashion photography. Could you tell us what autofocus mode you used for fashion and how well did that perform for you?
Hello, everyone. And the eyes and face detection of Z9 is really great. And I've used the AF tracking for my whole shooting. And it's perfect for shooting kids because they are always moving around and they cannot be like steady. So it's perfect to use like AF tracking, and the eyes face detection is perfect. Yeah.
Right. So you used the AF eye track to photograph the two children, and you found it really accurate?
Yeah, it's perfect. I can trust the camera completely. Yeah.
That's wonderful to hear. So I guess if you can trust the autofocus to do its job, it gives you more time to be able to communicate with your subject and worry about the composition or focus on the composition.
Yeah, so I can spend more time to like think of the framing or communicate with my models. Yeah.
We had some questions from the audience about the articulating rear screen and whether that is an advantage for you.
Yeah, because I usually shoot with low angle for all my fashion jobs. So it's good to use the 4-axis monitor together with the vertical grip. And because I work a lot with the fashion magazine, so they require like vertical framing. So the vertical grip with the 4-axis monitor is just perfect for me, for my work, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So I guess that means you're not having to lie down on the ground so much.
Yeah,
you can actually just flip the screen out. And with the autofocus, the eye detect nailing all the shots, you've really got the best of both worlds with the eye autofocus and the articulating screen for really low down, different angled shots.
Yes, and it's perfect for like most of the fashion or commercial photographer because we always need to like get down or like move around. So the first monitor is really great. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, I know a lot of fashion photographers love to give their clients high-end cinemagraphs, and the Z9 autofocus combined with the really fast frame rate has made this feature quite easy. And you took a fantastic sequence of images, the next frame actually, of this beautiful girl with the daisies on her eye. You took a series at 20 frames a second at a really slow shutter speed of a 25th of a second. So you were really trusting the autofocus system here, but also the image stabilization. So let's have a look at this. Now, I ingested these 20 images into Premiere and I've slowed it down so that the home viewers can actually have a look at how good this autofocus system is. I mean, this is just unreal. She didn't even open her eyes, yet the autofocus system knew where her eye was. And even with hair dropping in front of her face or blowing in front of her face, the autofocus system has still stayed on her eyes. It's really quite remarkable. And to see how good that, that image is, like up close. Have a look at this next shot here. This is 100%. 100%. I mean, that's just tack sharp, isn't it, Mo?
Yes, it's using 70 to 200 mm lens, and for this shot, it just captures perfectly the focus, and all the skin textures are just perfect. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thanks, Mo. So Majed, we've had a lot of questions from the audience about bird photography and wildlife photography on the Z9. Would you recommend to the home viewers a Z9 for wildlife photography?
Absolutely, I recommend it. And as many of my followers know that I sold already my SLRs, D5, D850, and shift now to the mirrorless system. The main reason for that is the focus, especially the AI focus now for the birds, for the animals, for the cars, and you have 9 options to go through those points.
And how did you find the animal eye tracking worked on both small and large animals?
Yeah, it will make my life easier now. I don't have to fight with my fingers like before to compose or to find which point I will take. The camera will take care of all of those. You just now have to think about your composition. Whenever you put the bird in the last angle, for example, or each of the corners, the point is there on the eye. So this will save our time. Will save our like struggling before to find the point we are interested in, especially when we convert to vertical and horizontal. It will pick the eye very quickly. And for the birds, I tried the tiny birds and the biggest birds, as ostrich. It was amazing.
Fantastic. Now, your background is also video, and we've had questions from the home viewers about how challenging the bird photography is when the bird is a similar color to the background. How did you find the Z9 autofocus performed in that scenario?
And in that scenario, whenever the camera scanned the scene, it was able to very quickly detect that there is something like alive, or a bird or an animal, for example. Within fraction of second, you can find the focus point spreaded along the body, then detect the head, then detect the eye within like fraction of second and stick to the eye. And also when the bird doing like this, just going aside without the eye, the camera can detect the head. And I was shocked, even in a silhouette status, the camera can detect the bird, and the camera can detect the head of the bird, even if it is totally silhouette. So this is amazing.
Oh, I think that's amazing too. And what a cracker shot this is. It's just incredible. So one of the questions we've had from photographers is a lot of bird photographers are asking about rolling shutter. Now, the Z9, we know, says it has no electronic viewfinder blackout. There's no blackout and no rolling shutter on this camera. Now, when you're panning a bird at a really fast frame rate, what was the camera able to distinguish between the bird and not create like a jelly or a rolling shutter effect?
Yeah, the camera was successfully freeze the action. I tried like 20 frames per second. I didn't try the 120, but I definitely will try it, because I believe for bird watchers and for any photographer who want to learn about the behavior, the camera will give you like 120 frame. It will show you the behavior of the bird when he is ready to fly, when he's flying. Also the zero blackout, it's totally different experience for me. I can track the animals for the banning, for the freeze. I can see the action 100% all the time without missing anything. Close the shutter between me and the action. So this was amazing for me to track anything moving, and it depends also on what lens you have and how you are ready to the shot. It was a great experience.
Oh, fantastic, Marja. Beautiful, beautiful work. You know, I love seeing this. This bird almost reminds me of a painted kookaburra. It's gorgeous. So well done. Beautiful. Now, Dara, we've had some questions from your followers as well. How did you find the autofocus bird eye detect performed?
Yeah,
Dara, I think we've got a bit of background noise there, so maybe we'll ask Warren, your videographer, to
the bird's eye depth is excellent. The animal eyes autofocus in C9 can track very well in every direction, especially fly direct to camera. The 3D tracking with animal eyes as priority help me to capture the amazing moment, and I capture the sensitive according to the movement of subject. Yes.
Oh, it's great. I'm so glad that that 3D tracking's back in it. It's wonderful that you're using that combined with the bird eye autofocus or the animal eye autofocus and getting great results like this. Like, this is a staggering shot. This image, you shot this at 1/16,000th of a second. This bird is flying, wings spread out wide, and it's looking straight down the lens at you. And this bird's got a massive protruding beak that pops out in front of him, and normally a camera would go to the closest subject. And what I found really interesting about this shot is this bird in the picture only has one eye, yet his eye is pin sharp. I mean, this is pretty incredible. Were you surprised that there was no forward focusing on the Z9 at all, and it was able to pick up just one eye on a bird? Great autofocus. So animal eye autofocus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is just an outstanding shot. So thank you so much, Dara. We'll move on to the next one. And the next one is also your image and another beautiful bird. Now you captured this image with a 500mm f-mount lens. How did you find, we've had questions from the audience about how did you find the autofocus system using an f-mount lens on the Z9 for birds?
Yeah, actually, this picture shows the most strong points of the Z9 because this is my Z9 stills off on the tripod before the bird start to drive down and fly. I haven't very fast, but the Z9 is extremely fast to active. Yes, when I turn on the camera, I can shoot it. Yes, and 3D tracking can track it and focus in the same second camera has opened. Very impressive. Yes, it's fast, rapidly to respond me.
Beautiful shot, Dara. Thank you so much. Now, Andrew, 3D tracking with face detect is back. This is a fantastic thing for anyone that's wanting an accurate and a really fast autofocus system, and all our sports photographers out there like you. So The audience would like to know, how did the autofocus perform with riders, especially riders that were wearing helmets and goggles?
Well, I have to say the Z9 sort of surprised me totally. We did try the riders wearing full face helmets, and of course helmets that were open face. That means you could see their eyes and their face. So for this particular case, the rider has a visor on, and the Z9's 3D was actually very immediate. All right, I was using auto subject detection with the 3D, and the camera actually nailed the visor very fast. It was, I think, definitely even faster than me, but it nailed it accurately. Now, if I was using a helmet that was open face, actually the camera would also just detect the eye, even though it's in shadow. So the Z9's 3D tracking is really, really super.
Amazing. I think this is just outstanding that it knows how to find eyes underneath a goggle or a mask. It's a really impressive deep learning, auto intelligence or artificial intelligence system.
Right.
Now, Andrew, there is 9 different autofocus modes, and we've had a question from the audience. Did you get to try out any of the different focus options?
I did, because what I did was I turned on auto detection, auto subject detection. So it would look for people, animals, and of course vehicles. So of course it can also find a bicycle under the vehicle category. So when I was shooting the bikers, when they were afar, the Z9 could easily detect the bike, all right, very accurately and very fast. And as the rider got closer, it immediately went to the head and also to the eye, if it could find the eye, and then not let go. It was very, very sticky. And these riders were actually quite fast, and I wanted to get really close to the riders, so it made it even faster. So it's really different. Even though I've used 3D from the other models like D5 and D6, I just think the intelligence and the stickiness of the 3D now is a new level for the Z9.
Yeah, so that's interesting, because we've had a number of questions from the audience about how does the autofocus system on the Z9 compare to like D5 and D6 for sport? Would you recommend sports photographers use the Z9?
Oh, definitely. Actually, the Z9 is making me look bad, But yes, definitely I'll recommend all the sports, wildlife photographers. It's definitely something that can be used for all genres. It is really so reliable. It's the first time I'm trusting a camera so much. Those that know me know that Andrew is always a manual kind of guy who likes to manually track the subject. But this is the first time I've used so much auto in a camera, and it has delivered the results reliably.
Yes, amazing. Now, the highest frame rate of the camera is 120 frames a second at 11 megapixel JPEG. But you shot a whole bunch of sequences at 30 frames a second in RAW and JPEG, so 45 megapixel nefs, and then a bunch at 20 frames a second as well. And I had a look at those sequences and was pretty blown away by how accurate each one of those frames was. Now, I've ingested into Premiere the whole sequence of this next shot, this next sequence, and I've slowed it down, because otherwise, you've got 20 frames a second, it goes in the blink of an eye. So I've slowed it down in Premiere so that everyone can have a look at this. And this is no editing. This is Andrew's shot, 20 and 30 frames a second, full res. Look how sharp that is. That is just mind-blowing.
Yeah, the Z9 is really incredible. So actually the whole sequence for this shot, I took at least 80 shots in a burst. And when I checked it on my computer screen, it was 100% hit. And I think the best part about the Z9's focusing system now is that, it's so fast and so reliable that even when the rider was so near to me, negotiating the turn, it still could track without fail.
It absolutely did, and I can vouch for the fact that you did shoot 80 shots, because I had to sort them and import them.
All right.
It was fantastic. Now, go back to the next slide. Now, you also had a couple of amazing panning shots like this one in your catalogue of work as well. Now, this one was shot at a 25th of a second at 100
Yes.
ISO, f5 with a 2470 2.8.
Yes.
How did you find the image stabilization on this one? Audience would love to know about how it performs for stabilization and how it performs for panning.
Yeah. So again, I think the Z9 stabilization was at least up to 6 stops. So it was simple. I was using a 2470 and I was panning the female rider. It was super reliable. And I think the most important thing is, other than the VR performance, the real life EVF was a blessing. All right. This time I could really see the panning action very smoothly. I mean, if I compare to my Z6 II or Z7 II, it's a whole new level. All right. So the real life EVF makes it so easy for me to follow the action. And of course, that helps me become more accurate in my panning. So yeah, brilliant job by the Z9.
Super exciting. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Welcome.
Majed, Animal IAF. You have had a couple of people from the audience direct questions to you about multiple animals in the frame. How did you find the Z9 autofocus coped with multiple animals? Now, you've got this image here, which I think is unbelievable. It looks like a mirror image. And you also have another one with 2 lions. Could you tell the audience about your experience with multiple animals in the frame and how you shot this one?
Yeah, when I shift to mirrorless systems, I found that like when they update the eye focus, sorry, there is a sound now, it's a prayer time, so there is a call. So when I found that eye system for all the brands, they are like picking the dots of the cheetahs until Nikon put the square of the wide AF area. When they introduced that wide AF area and the Z9, also and the old mirrorless, it's easily detect wherever you put that square, and you can just touch on the screen that I want to this area, whatever an eye in that box, it will detect it very easily without like fighting and going down and up. So that was a great feature for me. And also when you look at the viewfinder or the screen, there will be like a squares that the camera will scan all the scene, detect any faces, detect any eyes around. So you will find like a box for the first cheetah, for example, and another 2 eyes for the second cheetah. You can go, you can switch between them through the joystick to go for each or for which subject you want very easily and very fast.
Look, I think that's fascinating. And I mean, there's not too many people that have taken incredible photos of cheetahs like this, let alone 2. You know, this could, you know, I was wondering if it was a mirror or Photoshop, but it's amazing. And you're right, you know, you'd look at this and think, oh, I wonder where the auto eye detector is going to pick up. But because you can select an area within the frame to look for eyes, you've eliminated any issues and it'll go straight to the cheetah's head.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, Steph, you are an amazing fashion and advertising photographer. Normally, you're not shooting super fast moving subjects in continuous high focus at 20 frames a second like a professional sports photographer might. Could you tell the audience, how is your experience with the autofocus system on the Z9? And in particular, perhaps with the sequence of this horse racing around the barrel?
Yeah, thanks, Julie. Well, that's right. This is a new thing for me. I mean, I predominantly shoot portraits, you know, editorial work, and, you know, I'm not shooting high speed action stuff. So, but this was a real test for me, and it was amazing to go out and, you know, put the Z9 through its paces. And this shot in particular, we only had 2 goes at it. So it only takes 14 seconds for the horse to go around the barrel. So I really only had 2 goes at doing this. And the autofocus just blew me away. Like the first attempt, we got it straight away. And that was a real like, oh my goodness moment. You know, it was really contrasty lighting. It was the middle of the day. We're out in the middle of Australia, outback, you know, it's hot, it's sunny. And even with the low light, the autofocus still tracked the horse going around the barrel. It was incredible.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And you also shot a 20 frames a second sequence of this horse. And I think when we were talking before, you said the horse actually gets around the barrel in 14 seconds. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. So you did a 20 frames a second. Let's have a look at this sequence. So what amazed me about this, and we've had a lot of questions directed at the autofocus, and perhaps Steph, you can answer this for the audience. They were asking about forward interference. And during this shot, you had so much stuff flicking up at the camera. So much dirt and some big, look like a piece of the horseshoe or something.
Yeah, it's the boot that goes around the horse's ankle. It kind of flew off and went over my head.
But at no time did it pick up on anything that was flying at you forward from the subject. It stayed on the subject.
No, which is amazing because I really wanted this shot too. You know, I'd love all the dirt and I wanted to get in close. So the dirt was like really kind of flying at the camera to give this whole idea of, you know, motion and action. And the autofocus stayed on the horse, which is great because all the dirt just flying everywhere just becomes part of the action, but the focus is on the horse. Yeah.
And like Leong Mo was talking about the articulating screen, I believe you used the articulating screen for this sequence as well.
I did. I wanted to get really low and shoot right into the dirt. And so I was using the screen and it was great. I mean, I didn't really want to be lying in the dirt myself. So it was perfect. I could get down really low and I could see exactly what was happening. And it steadied me too. It was a really steadying. I could just kind of lock myself in place. So yeah, it's good.
I don't think I'd want to be lying on the ground too close to a horse's foot running around a barrel either. So yeah.
Oh.
Step back a bit. Thanks, Steph. They're a really amazing sequence.
Thanks.
And we'll go to the next one. So we've had numerous questions from the audience about compatibility with existing f-mount lenses and using them on the Z mirrorless system. So I want to reassure the home viewers that all of the f-mount lenses will work on the Z mount with no change to your depth of field, your focal length, or your autofocus. But Majed, maybe you could tell us your experience of using the f-mount lenses with the Z system, because I think you used a 180 to 400 with the built-in teleconverter switched on and the F2z adapter for this image. How did you find the autofocus performance using the f-mount lenses on Z9?
Yeah, first of all, the 180-400 lens with the teleconverter is the greatest lens ever I used, like since 2004 until now. I didn't find a lens like that lens. It's a miracle lens for me. I can't travel with it without any other lenses, because when I shoot in Safari like 10,000 photos, like I have in Lightroom filtering the photo by lens, I can find 8,500 photos I shoot with the 180-400. When I use it with the mirrorless before the Z9, the performance was amazing. I didn't find any difference, but maybe for the mirrorless, I found it much better experience and much better performance, because imagine that I can put a monopod on the 180-400. I put it on the ground. I am in the car. I can take photos without thinking about the focus. It will be autofocus on the eye. So this is one of the big benefits of shifting to mirrorless. Still I can use my my old lenses with the F2z without losing any information. The speed is amazing, and the focus is much better than all the sellers.
That's fantastic to hear. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, Arjun, you also used a bunch of f-mount lenses on the Z9 for wedding, and we've had a lot of people asking about suitability of the Z9 for shooting weddings, and also how the f-mount lenses perform on the Z9 for weddings. Could you answer some of those questions for the audience, please?
Yeah, sure. Normally when I was shooting this image, It was a wonderful experience. The camera itself is too powerful and sturdy. And also main thing I'm noted thing is like the focusing system, So it was very fast and accurate. So the main thing is I noticed like I can't even lose any focusing from the subject. So it get a detailed image on the subject and it was very perfect.
That's really great. And I think from memory, you used a 105/28 macro.
Yeah.
A 70 to 200 2.8, and was it an 85 1.8?
Yes.
Yeah, so you used a mix of prime and zoom lenses, and you found all of the F-mount lenses, whether they were prime or zoom, worked really well in autofocus on the Z9?
Yeah, the autofocus was very good. It doesn't feel any interruption during the shoot, and it was so easier for me. So I can concentrate more on the frame.
So you would be really confident in recommending to anyone that has a bunch of old or a previous F-mount lenses, they're fine to use on Z9 for wedding.
Sure, I will.
Yep. And look, your business, Arjun, Tuesday Lights, is also, it does a lot of film and video. So did you get a chance to test the F-mount lenses on the Z9 for video?
Video, I don't try that.
Okay, we'll go to that one next then. Next live stream. Thank you. Darren, over to you. Oh, sorry, Andrew. I keep doing that. I do apologize, Andrew. You are Andrew.
Sorry. Yes.
Andrew, now I think you shot this with a 50mm 1.2 lens, and we had a question from the audience about how the focus performs on the 51.2. So your thoughts?
Yeah. So this is a Z51.2, and normally we don't use such fast lenses for, so shallow lenses for depth of field lenses for sports, because of the speed and how the riders are coming along. But because of the Z9's focusing, I wanted to try how it looked like, and because it would give me the nice soft background, which it did. So I think for the audience, I think one thing, the Z series lenses is very different from the F mount, because so far all the Z series lenses that I've tried, as far as autofocus is concerned, they perform superbly well. There's no really big distinction between the lenses, irrespective of the focal length. Not like the F mounts where certain focal lengths will focus better than other lenses, other focal lengths. So the 51.2 did great, actually surprised me. And I like the soft, the background that it gives.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And you're right, like that's an epic shot. 1.2, f1.2 50mm. Well, I think that certainly answers the questions. Does it perform well for sport? Yep, sure does.
Yep, it does. And I think, can I add one more thing, Julie?
Please.
Oh yeah, I think the other thing for the audience is that because the Z9 now can shoot at 1/32,000 of a second. All right, faster shutter speed. So there's also another great advantage for using very fast lenses in the day. All right, instead of using a neutral density filter, now you can use the fast shutter speed, the ultra fast shutter speed to balance your exposure. So that's another great thing from the Z9.
That's fantastic and a really good point. Thank you, Andrew. Dara, for this shot, I believe you used super tele lenses, so F-mount super tele lenses. So we had a question from the audience specifically about how does a Z9 work with autofocus with an F2z adapter and the really super tele lenses, so 4.5/6s. What lens did you use for this, and how was your experience?
This sunbird is take shower with the water in the flower. I use the 600 with F mount with the Z9. The sunburst is about 10 centimeter and quickly to movement. I use 3D tracking. It work well with F mount lens.
This is such a beautiful image, and I mean, it's a really good segue actually, because the color in this is staggering and that beautiful depth of field. It's just, it's lens compression, I dare say as well, but this is really beautiful and a really great example of the quality you're going to get out of using your F-mount lenses on the Z9. And so you said this is 3D tracking, Dara?
Yes, I use 3D tracking.
Stunning, thank you.
Work well, yes.
Absolutely beautiful. So good segue. Let's talk about image quality. Liang Mo, you're a fashion photographer. People working in fashion need to see a lot of detail. They want to see the texture in the clothing and details in the fabric. They want good skin tones and color and a good dynamic range. So the audience would like to know if you would recommend the Z9 for fashion and for portraits.
Yeah. I love using like bold colors in my works. You can see here the red color really pops out, and all the details, the fabric, the color of the clothes and the makeup just really like so out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really beautiful. And you also spend a lot of time crafting your shots, making the props or sourcing the props and so on. So I guess it's really important for you to have a high resolution sensor as well that's capturing that data, that detail.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
And you used the D850 beforehand?
Yeah, I used D850 before, and I think the Z9 is more handy for me because I always need to like go outdoor to shoot for like different locations. So I think I will use Z9 from now on.
So I guess that's a really good question, and one we've had from the audience is, you know, why Z9 over D850, and would you recommend it for fashion? So you're saying because of the resolution, the autofocus and the articulating screen, that there are advantages for you for the work you do over the D850?
Yeah, especially the vertical grip, because I think 99% of my work is in vertical framing. So the vertical grip is really helping me. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So Steph, what did you think of the Z9 compared to the D850?
Yeah, look, it blew me away. I think, you know, shooting with the Z, it just kind of opened up a whole new world to me. For instance, you know, the new viewfinder, the no blackout, like that was such a unique thing to me, and being able to see everything straight away in real time was exceptional. I mean, as a portrait photographer or someone capturing people, you know, for me, it's about capturing those moments and having that ability to be able to see everything instantaneously. That to me is one of the biggest things that I think is going to really change my perspective of how I'm shooting, and that's something the Z will do for me. Yeah, the Z9.
Yeah, and so I know that with the pre-production camera, you couldn't shoot with the raw files because you couldn't open them at the moment. You were shooting JPEG, which I guess for you is, you know, it's a pretty scary thing to think, oh goodness, I'm shooting a corporate job or a client's job on JPEG. But tell us about that experience, and the audience would like to know, you know, what did you think of the JPEG image quality at 45 megapixel, and how did it handle skin tones and detail in shadow?
Yeah, skin tone, beautiful, perfect. And, you know, the detail is incredible. Like in this shot, there's so much detail in like this was shot in the studio. There's so much detail in the hat and the texture. And, you know, I really wanted this shot in particular to talk. I didn't want it to be perfect. Like I wanted to be able to see all the detail in her skin and in her hand, in the rope and all the textures. And that's something that, you know, blew my socks off. You know, in this shot, I've even added some grain in post-production because I wanted it to look a little bit dirty and gritty, like she was out on location to match some of the other shots. And yeah, so, you know, JPEG, just, you know, it's incredible. You could definitely shoot that way. And yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I love that you can actually see the little details on the leather strap around her hat.
Yeah, the felt, it's incredible. There was so much detail. And when you zoom into the shot, you can just see everything. And shot on my favorite lens, which is the 105, you know, I just love it.
You do love that lens. And
I do.
Was that the F-mount lens as well?
This was the F-mount lens, actually. And yeah, you know, I love that lens, so it's very hard for me to let it go. But I've also recently tried the new 105 as well, and that's even better. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Thanks, Steph. That's wonderful. Jun, a lot of questions for you about Z9 and wedding. So the audience would like to know, in your experience, is the Z9 better for shooting weddings than your Z6 or Z7 II, and why?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Wedding is a precious moment in everyone's life. So in order to capture the precious moment, we want to assure the camera wouldn't miss any moments during the wedding. So when I'm using the C9, I feel goosebumps because it is very powerful and sturdy, and I never miss any single moment. And it's like a fun, like it's the shutter speed is like too fast, and also it is very accurate and reliable. And I never miss any single moment during this shoot.
Yeah, and I guess another thing I'd like to ask you about is, what did you think of the dynamic range?
Dynamic range is very pretty good, and the gradation from the low light to highlight was very smooth. And also, I think one of the best dynamic range camera I have been used so far.
So you would definitely recommend this for weddings and portraits?
Sure, I will.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. Majid, again, why is the Z9 better for wildlife than your previous camera? The audience would like to know, would you recommend it, and why is it good for wildlife?
Absolutely, I will recommend it, and absolutely, I will say you can sell all your SLR equipment now and shift to mirrorless because it's the future. You will save a lot of time. You will have a good time to think about the composition, not to think about how the camera will take the focus for the subject. So this is the main difference between them. Also in the Z9 specifically, in all mirrorless stuff, we have like the user 1, user 2, user 3, but there is now a new feature in Z9, which is expanding the banks. So I have a setting, ready setting for the banning, for the freezing, for the focus itself, how to lock the focus so that I can select the focus in the background, not in the foreground. So all those settings are adjusted in the camera. And the great thing, I will switch to them, not like the old or even the mirrors like Z6 or Z7, you should click and go to the user. No, in the Z9 now, there is like 3 function buttons. You can adjust them just with 1 click and dial. You switch between all the banks very quick and take whatever focus point you want very easily. So this is one of the shots that I can track the background and lock the focus on the background, not the foreground. And you can do the opposite by concentrating all the focus for the foreground and keep the background out of focus. So this is amazing for me, and it will save a lot of time because this action will happen like fraction of a second.
Yeah, it sure does. And I'd certainly want to be a long way away from those lions. So it's good to be able to concentrate on your subject and not worry about taking your eyes off them, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and the Z9 is highly customizable. As you said, you can pretty much program pretty much any button or dial to do most things. So it's awesome.
Yeah, this is very awesome. Oh, extremely for the also the viewfinder, you are seeing like even for the banning, it will help you much more than before, because if you have like 1/15, now with the mirrorless you can go and see the action for even the banning, like straight off the camera without any blocking or without any shutter.
It's wonderful, isn't it? And Darren was seconding that. So yeah, thank you, Majid. Thank you.
Thank you.
So good segue there again to Andrew Tan. Now, we saw a sequence of your shots earlier. What a lot of the questions that we've got is about ISO on a 45 megapixel sensor. How does the ISO perform? So I showed this sequence earlier of yours, Andrew, and I had a look at this shot. I zoomed in and had a look at this shot in the metadata, and you shot some of this stuff at 18,000 ISO and 25,000 ISO. And I'm just going to show the viewers at home this. Now, this is 18,000 ISO in JPEG on a 45 megapixel camera. This is not it's not a 24 megapixel camera that has really, really big, a really big light receptors. This is a 45 megapixel sensor. Were you blown away by this, Andrew?
Yeah, totally. You know, like I said, I had to trust the camera. Now, this was taken with the new lens, the 100-400, and new Z lens. And like you said, I was totally blown away. I had to trust the camera completely, and it was the first time I really used auto in my way of shooting. I was using auto ISO. I just shot in shutter priority mode, and yeah, if you look at I did not do any third-party noise reduction to it. I know the camera was set on JPEG. High ISO noise reduction was set to normal. All right, and if you look at the details, if you zoom in and look at the details, definitely the Z9 is benchmark. Even if I compare to the previous flagships from Nikon, or even the 850 at 45 megapixels.
Yeah, Andrew, it blew me away. And this next shot, if we go to the next one.
Yep.
So this is another image that we showed previously. Now this
Right.
one is actually shot at 25,000 ISO, 45 megapixel camera. Andrew,
Right.
this is nuts. So the questions that we've had from the audience is, what ISO did you start to notice any kind of noise? And what ISO would you be comfortable shooting on the Z9?
Well, as you can see, I trusted it totally, and the native ISO for the Z9 is from, I think, 64 all the way to 25,006. So I think you can safely shoot at those high ISOs if you need to, depending on light condition, and you can be sure that the pixel quality is not mushy, you know, and it's very well defined. But the only thing that I would have to tell you is that please do not underexpose too much, right? You have to get your exposure right. And this was shot, you know, after the rain, so it was a little bit dark. So I had to make sure the exposures were spot on, so that the high ISO and the dynamic range of the Z9 would show the details up superbly.
Yeah, really, really good point for the questions that we've had, is to make sure that you nail your exposure if you're shooting.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, look, these are staggering shots. I am seriously blown away that a 45 megapixel sensor can shoot at 25,000.
Right.
In
so
a
now,
JPEG, in this kind of lighting with action, and not have mucky blacks. It's
yeah,
just,
I mean, I hope the audience was, you know, I was so worried what I would produce. But, you know, again, like I said, the Z9 performed.
it sure did. Well done. Thanks so much,
Thank you.
Andrew. Arjun, did you have a go at testing the Z9 in low light for weddings? We had questions from the audience about how the performance was for weddings in low light and whether you would recommend it.
Yeah, surely I will recommend the C9 in low light condition. First of all, like the autofocus performance was very perfect because the focusing was still on the eye in the low light condition. And also I boosted the ISO for a certain level from 3000 to 10,000. And after I was surprised, like seeing the image was usable and clean. And so I recommend the C9 for the low light condition, because as a wedding photographer, normally there will not be sometimes no light in the place where we go for the auditorium or somewhere. So during that situation, it really helped me a lot.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Arjun.
Thank you.
Now, we know that we've covered off a lot of things on the Z9 with autofocus and image quality and ISO and stability and all of those things for stills, but the Z9 is also a staggeringly great camera for video. And we've had a couple of people do some video, and I'm going to cross to Warren in just a moment, Warren and Dara. Warren shot the behind the scenes video for Dara, and one of the features of the Z9 is it has 8K ultra high definition video with internal recording for over 2 hours. So no overheating issues. There is a whole bunch of different formats. Now, Warren, perhaps we can have a chat to you if you don't mind. Tell us about your experience shooting with a video for Dara's video.
Actually, we got the true C9 on for the behind the scene video. So at the first time, if you can choose the bunch of the video, you can select about the 17 function of the video. So, but the highlight is the 8K video. So if you can see from the video, the introduction, next year we can upgrade the 8K to 60 frames per second. Now we can choose the 8K, 30, 25, and 24. But actually, I try 8K about 1 or 2 times, actually several times, but I can't open it because the file is very big. Yes, and they have the problem with my computer. So I think I have to change the new computer for this video. It's very fantastic details. And if you wonder, the 8K can shoot about the HLG or the SDR, mean the super dynamic range video. So I tried that a lot. So just stop the frame and capture to the still picture. So it's very fantastic. You can adjust from the camera raw program any with just the capture from the scene. So I think this is very important thing for the video shooter. Maybe you just freeze the frame and capture to your customer or something. Yes,
Yep.
but almost this in this presentation I use 4K and 120.
Yeah, that's right. So you tested it out at 4K, 120 frames.
Yes.
You slowed it down in post.
You will see from the BTS studio, the behind the scene video. So it will show you about when the bird fly in the flight. So when you capture with the video, they can use the animal IAF during you capture with the video. So
Fantastic.
this is very amazing. Yes.
It is absolutely fantastic. And we will be showing that video at the end of this presentation. So please stick around and watch that. Now, we have had a number of questions from the audience about video, and there is a lot of specifications that are already published that you can find online or in the brochure, but I will just answer a couple of those. One of the questions was, does it have log for video? Obviously, we know it does. Yes, Z9 has a 10-bit N-log for internal recording. The Z9 can shoot internally or externally to a recording device. As you said, Warren, it does shoot at 120 frames a second in 4K, and you didn't have any issues with overheating?
No, because actually I already used in the rainforest. If you can see in the video, it's rain and very hot in the rainforest. Yes, maybe 30 degrees Celsius or 32, 34. Yes, all the time. And I capture on the tripod. It's on the sunny day, and I left it in the outdoor. So I think we record the longest footage is about 1 hour and a half. Yes, it's still okay. Yeah.
Fantastic. And as you rightly said, because that was another question from the audience, when will the firmware be updatable or be available for 50 and 60p in 8K? And that will be 2022. So next year, you'll be able to do 50 and 60p 8K video. And one last question from the audience is, how did you find the color and tonal range of the file in log?
Oh yeah, I tried the N-log, but now they have no program to convert or the grading about the N-log yet. So I have to use it, the N-log file in the part. It's manually. I make it manually in the program. So it's worked well, and because the super dynamic range in the video is fine. It's very good one. But by the way, I love N-log and I love the HLG too.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Cheers, Warren.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dara.
Right.
Now, Arjun, Tuesday Lights is your business. You shoot film and stills. What did you think of the subject tracking in video?
For Indian weddings, we are having lots of rituals and numerous guests. So normally the main thing I'm dealing with the multi-tasking, like selecting the subject from the multiple objects. So that's an important task for me. So when I was using the C9, it was really easy for me for selecting the subject from the multiple subjects. So by tapping the rear LCD monitor, it was easy me to select the subject which I need. And also I can shift my subject from one subject to another. So really, it was really helpful for me. So I can concentrate more on my frames. So the composition and the framing becomes some more beautiful.
That's fantastic. We did have a couple of questions from the audience, and I might just answer these. One of the questions was, will the Z9 show 100 frames a second on an external monitor? And the answer is yes, as long as the external monitor is compatible with a HDMI 2.1. And also, can video be recorded to both slots? And the answer is stills can be recorded to 2 slots, video is only to 1. So thank you, Arjun.
Julie.
Let's move to the next one. Let's go to the sensor, because the sensor is pretty damn awesome on the Z9. The sensor of the Z9 has a new stacked Cmos sensor, which has memory built into the sensor, and this allows for faster autofocusing and auto exposure readout speeds. The new sensor in the Z9 is 12 times faster than the Z7 II readout speed. And the processor, the XP7 processor, is 10 times faster than the processor in the Z7 II. If we combine that with the new deep learning autofocus or artificial intelligence, it's capable of 120 autofocus calculations per second and has dual stream technology that splits image recording and live view processing. This is pretty damn phenomenal. Now, one of the things that I think is unreal, and particularly for mirrorless, something that people at home get a little bit worried about sometimes, is dust with mirrorless. But Nikon has addressed this because very similar to our top of the line Nikon lenses, the Z9 sensor now has a special optical filter that sits in front of the image sensor. And that filter has the same fluorine and conductive coatings that we have on the Nikon lenses, which prevent dust and help make it easier to clean, which is just awesome for mirrorless, and especially for a camera of this quality where you want to take it out and shoot sport on the mountain bike track, Andrew. And Arjun, you want to do weddings and not have to worry about cleaning dust off every frame for a video. And Dara, yourself as well, you know, Dara and Majid, you want to take it into the worst environments possible with mud and water and all of those things. So we want to make sure that we're giving photographers every chance of having a very clean frame, and the new sensor is going to give you all that capability and more. But in addition to that, Nikon has also employed this very cool sensor shield, and this deploys every time the camera is turned off, and it also further prevents dust from getting onto the sensor. Now, this is not a flimsy little shutter blade. It's a hard plastic material. So this is absolutely fabulous at helping to stop dust getting onto the sensor and causing a lot of the issues that other brands may have with dust. Pretty cool. So Steph, let's chat a bit more about image quality. Now, you were shooting JPEG on the Z9, as we said, because you couldn't shoot RAW on the pre-production camera. But this example here, you were shooting straight into the sun, right backlit. It's about, I don't know, 6:30 in the morning, I think it was.
Yeah, it was early. Yep.
You got a perfect starburst, but you were also able to keep all the detail in the foreground and in the flowers and the grass on the ground. What are your thoughts on the dynamic range and the resolution of this camera for, you know, for fashion and for commercial jobs?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's great. And that's the thing, you know, when I'm shooting, and I do like getting out there and shooting the end of the day and early in the morning and just getting that really beautiful light. And it is the best time in my region to shoot. And to be able to still have all that detail in the sky, in the flowers, you know, I like shooting that backlit, you know, really, you know, getting that sort of ambience in the shot. Yeah, it's really important to me, and Z9 just nailed it, you know, just so good.
Fantastic. Thanks, Steph.
And oh, sorry, Julie.
Yeah, no, go for it. We'll go back.
Just saying about, you know, how good is that sensor protection? You know, I'm out on a shoot, I change my lenses all the time. So that is going to be so good. Just to have that extra protection and not have to worry is unbelievable.
Fantastic. Thanks, Steph. Majid, you were talking before about shooting silhouettes. We had a question about shooting silhouettes and how the Z9 goes in identifying subjects in that situation where it's backlit.
Yeah, so as I told you that I was surprised that the camera was able to detect the head of the animals, of the birds, even if they are in a silhouette mode. As I told you that I can see the camera discovering the body, scanning it, checking the head, then trying to pick the eye. So this is amazing for me, again, to recompose the photo. So if I am okay, fine with the subject, I will let the autofocus go there. I can lock the autofocus because I always in wildlife use the back focus. So whenever I release my hand, the focus will be locked, and I can recompose the photo again as I wish. Even if I change my lens here, sometimes we are in Svalbard or in the North Pole, it's snowy, it's like raining, or it's a wet platform. So I was afraid before to change any lens from mirrorless or from the SLRs, but the SLR is okay because the shutter is there. But with the Z9 now, there is this shutter is it's not shutter, it's like a shield to cover the sensor. So this is amazing. Another small thing they add to the body, that before with any camera you can by mistake touch the door of the car, but now in the Z9 there is like a small pin that it will lock the body, so you will feel that strong body with your hand. Even when you switch the camera off, the sensor is also locked for the VR or for the vibration reduction. It will stop moving while your car, for example, in the Safari is moving. The sensor is in a safe hand, as they said.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And I guess this one's just talking about the detail again. You can even see the little bugs on the buffalo. Is it a buffalo?
Yeah, it's a buffalo.
Such incredible detail there. And color, the color contrast with the little flaming beaks on the birds. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well done. Thanks, Majed.
Thank you so much.
Dara, now when I watched your video, I was pretty horrified actually at how much water you had to stand in and how wet it was where you shoot. So I guess the dust and weather sealing is a really big advantage for the kind of conditions that you're shooting in. And we had some questions from the audience about whether you were impressed with the weather sealing and did you have any dust issues?
This picture, I use 600 millimeter.
Actually, Dara is in the outside, but you have to ask the behind the scene team, yes, because we are more wet, more hot, yes. Actually, she is a photographer, but we use and we trust in the weather seal of the cameras because we just prove it many times in the rainforest. So it has rains about 100 times, and in the morning they have very high humidity. Yes, in the rainforest, you just breathe and you can get the lung sick or something. Yes. So I think the weather seal of the Z9 is more reliable than any mirrorless camera that we have used. And so I think they may be equal or superior than D6 because the back monitor that you can flip 4 axis. But I try to test it in the rain. Yes,
Heavy rain.
Heavy rain, very heavy rain. So
Yeah, we saw
flip,
that.
Yes.
I thought you were pouring a bucket of water on it. It was crazy.
Yes. Yes, I'm kind of like that.
Spread all the time.
Well done. It was really great. I have another question for you, and perhaps this might even be one for both of you. We had a question about panning with a bird. I know we talked about this also with Majed, but the camera has no rolling shutter and a pretty good no blackout viewfinder. So how was your experience panning with birds?
No blackout viewfinder help me to guess the directions of the movements of the hornbill. It's easy to planning, yes, and easy to capture the every moment, every directions of the bird. Yes, it's fantastic to, it's helpful to guess every directions of the movement. Yes, it's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dara. Now, Steph, you used flash with the Z9. How did you find the flash system worked? I think you used some studio flashes as well. So talk to us about your experience with the flash system and on the Z9.
I was shooting because, again, we were out in the middle of the day and it was so sunny. So I really wanted to inject some strobe lights into this shot. And they worked seamlessly, for one, which was great because I hadn't tested the strobes or anything with the camera before being on set, being on the shoot. They worked perfectly. So that was a big tick. And secondly, again, just talking about the electronic viewfinder in the real time and the no blackout. This was one of those moments. When I was shooting and I was looking through the camera and I could see exactly what the strobes was doing to the shot instantaneously. So I could be looking through my camera and going, okay, I need to adjust it a little bit or this or that. But I could see, because, normally you take the camera down, have a bit of a look, trying to assess what the light's doing on location. But this was just, I was like, oh my goodness, this is game changer for me. This is going to change the way I actually shoot, because being able to visually see, sometimes I might be on a location shoot where I have 4 or 5 different flashes going off in all sorts of different directions and lots of different things happening. And this, being able to instantly see, it would just, it overwhelmed me. It was fantastic. It's just such a great thing. And that's one thing that's just, it's going to be great. It's going to be good to use.
It takes the guesswork out of your photography, doesn't it? So I guess, time is money. So that's creating more efficiency for you and, better for the client as well.
Absolutely. Because, that is the thing when you're on location or when you're on a shoot as a commercial photographer, you are often time poor. You need to be able to get the shots quickly and you need to be able to see what's happening and assess the situation, assess the shot. And also besides that, you're not missing the moment. You're seeing the moments happen and that you just connected with the subject so much. And I just love that.
Fantastic. And Andrew, I'd love to ask you about the use of Nikon Speedlights with the Z9. I believe you had a go with the Speedlights?
Yes, I did have a go with it, a short session with it. I was using the SB5000. I used it off camera. I used the remote, I think it was the WRR11, if I'm not mistaken. And it performed very well. It can also do high-speed sync. You just have to make sure that you turn on, you're going to go into the flash menu and make sure that it's on auto FP mode. I think it's at 1/250 of the second.
Yeah, good advice. Yeah. We've had a lot of questions on using Speedlight with the Z9.
You can now you can easily shoot flash even with the electronic shutter, which you can't do previously with the 7.2 and the 6.2 or the 6 and the 7. So now it's perfectly wonderful because now we got the flash features already on board for the electronic shutter.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Welcome.
And Mo, I believe you shot all of your images using Studio Flash. How did you go with that?
It's the same. It's all good. No problem with the same same machine, and just same as my previous working experience. It's all perfect, all good. Yeah.
Yes. Beautiful catch lights in some of the eyes of your subjects there, and absolutely stunning detail. So good for everyone to know that it'll work. The Z9 works flawlessly with the Nikon Speedlight system, off camera and on, and also with a range of studio lights that are out there too. So this really is a camera for everyone. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We've had a lot of questions from the audience about new Z lenses and what products will be released in the future. I'd like to thank whoever the person was that asked about the 85mm lens that's on the horizon. Unfortunately, I don't have any further information at this stage, but you will note between the 200 to 600 and the 800mm that there is a little 85 in there. So I would suggest that you watch the lens roadmap, keep an eye on the forums, and you'll probably find out when we do. But there is a lot of research and development going on into the mirrorless system, including Z lenses. So do keep checking out the posts, and Nikon will be developing more lenses and continuing to invest a lot of R&D into our mirrorless system. More general questions. We've had a bunch of general questions, most again, which can be found online, but I thought I might just take a quick moment to cover off some of these now. And one of the questions that we're getting asked a lot is, when will the camera be available? Unfortunately, we don't have an ETA just yet. However, this camera is so popular that I know we are going to be filling back orders for a long time. So get your orders in. And if you're wanting to know how much it is or where you can get it, please contact your local retailer or supplier for information, because every region has different currency, different pricing. So please, again, contact your local retailer for pricing information. Another question we got asked is, can the Z9 be powered by an external battery pack? The answer is yes. It is also compatible with all of the EN-EL18 type batteries. However, the EN-EL18D will give you better performance and therefore more images or video recording time out of the battery than the previous versions. We had another question about how many shots you can get out of a battery. Super have rated it as 700 stills in RAW or 170 minutes of video. However, we've had reports from photographers that they're getting heaps more, including from our dear friends at Nikon in America, who had a sport photographer saying they got 5,500 frames out of the camera in JPEG burst mode. That's mad. So
I can vouch for that.
you can vouch for it. Good. Yeah. How many did you get, Andrew?
Yes. I did 2,700 shots in one go, and there was still more than 50% left in the battery.
Whoa.
Yeah, in a single session. Yeah.
2,700, and it was only half empty.
Yes. So no problems with battery at all.
Well, thank you for answering that one, Andrew. There you go. You've heard it firsthand. That's why we have you on the panel. Thanks, Andrew. We had another question about, what is the bottom dial on the Z9 for? Now, I'm going to guess that you're talking about the dial on the front of the body that you can see here, which will be a shutter speed or aperture setting, depending on how you set up and configure your camera. If you are talking about the button to the side of that dial, that is the vertical AF on shutter button. More questions, more questions. What is the buffer size? How many images can I shoot in RAW until the buffer fills up? So RAW buffer is around 1,000 frames using the Pro grade CFX cards, so the CF Express cards. But if you are shooting in JPEG, as Andrew said, sounds like the buffer for JPEG is virtually unlimited, and probably more so limited by the card rather than the buffer. Would you agree?
Right. Exactly. Just to add, I did, while we were filming, I did switch it to the XQD accidentally into the primary slot, and it slowed down for XQD. So you have to use the CF Express, then it will never slow down.
Fantastic. Yeah. Look, there is a whole bunch of other specs online, including weight and size. It's 7% lighter, 20% smaller than the D6. We had a question, does it record in 16-bit? No, it doesn't. It's 14-bit. And there's voltage information that is also available online. So check out the internet for all of those specifications. The brochure is there. There's heaps and heaps of wireless options on the camera as well. And we had a question from a couple of viewers about Astro. Now, none of us have used the camera for Astro yet on this panel, but I loved this image that Mo took because it looks like a little astronaut. And the Z9 does have some very, very cool features that will assist our astro friends. And these are that the camera has two features. One is starlight mode, which boosts the visibility through the viewfinder or on the rear screen of darker scenes. And two, it expands the autofocus range to -8.5 EV so that you can focus on stars or scenes in extremely low light. And it also changes to warm color, which helps you. It just sort of makes it easier on the eye in darker environments. So there's some really cool features for our astro friends. We recommend that you shoot with CF Express, and we had a question from one of the audience members about what type of card. So again, all this information you can find on the brochure. It takes 2 CF Express or 2 XQD cards. The card slots are independent of each other, so you can use older cards with different write speeds. But for best performance, again, we recommend the Pro Grade Cobalt CF Express cards with a minimum write speed of 1500 megabytes a second. Andrew, talk to us a little bit quickly about the image stabilization. So Z9 has a 5-axis image stabilization with up to 6 stops of VR with compatible lenses, 105, 70 to 200, and 100 to 400. How did you find the stabilization worked?
It was wonderful, especially when I was shooting at very, very low point of view, especially with the riders, because the riders always look downwards. So I was either lying down, I was kneeling down using the 4-axis tilt monitor. And when I do that, of course, I have to rely on the vibration reduction capability of the setup of the Z9. So it worked fine. No problems at all.
You can stay. We'll keep you. Thank you. That's awesome.
All right.
Okay, and this one here, I just wanted to bring this up one again, Mo, because you shot this at a 25th of a second. Super sharp. We saw the enlargement before, and I'm assuming, you know, another testament to the image stabilization to be able to shoot at a 25th of a second.
Yes, I shoot this with 20 pics in a frame and just capture the hair movement beautifully. Yeah.
It did, absolutely stunning, and everything else is pin sharp. And I can tell you, there is no way I could shoot anything handhold at a 25th of a second. So congratulations. This is pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Really awesome. So we're just about to wrap up for the session today, guys. Before we finish, I'd love to ask each of you, and I'll start with you, Steph, what's your favorite feature of the Z9?
Oh, I think I've already acknowledged that one. Definitely the blackout, no blackout, the new viewfinder, the brightness, and the autofocus. I just can't believe how good it is, and I just can't wait to try it out more. And it's just such a smart camera. I love it.
Awesome. Mo, what's your favorite feature of the Z9?
My favorite feature is a 4-axis monitor, because I really usually shoot with low angle, and I got some lag problem in the previous setting. So it really helps me with the monitor. Yeah, I can reduce my ping.
We're glad that we can help you with OH&S as well. And Andrew, what's your favorite feature of the Z9?
So many to mention, but I have to say the no blackout real life EVF, that's one. I love the integrated grip. So now I have full reliability and I can really shoot vertical without having to waste time. I think one important point I wanted to mention was now in AF continuous mode, you can actually turn on it turns green now, which is so good. You know, I love that option, because the previous 6.2, 7.2s and the 7s and 6, when you're on AF continuous, it still shows you a red AF square all the time, even though you are locked on. But now with the Z9, you can actually turn on confirmation and you will say it will be green color. So you feel so much more confident, you know.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Majed, favorite feature of the Z9?
For me, absolutely. I was waiting the focus of the birds. So this is one of the most featured, and also zero blackout. Those two are my most preferred features.
Awesome. Dara? What's your favorite feature of the Z9?
The super quick response to operate the camera. When I turn on, it can shoot it. Yes, and the 3D tracking that can shoot a priority subject, real life EVF can continue to see the subject. Yes.
Fantastic. And finally, Arjun, favorite feature of the Z9?
There are a lot of features in the camera, but I love the autofocus performance and also the blackout free EVF and the video and advancement in the video specification like the 4K 120p. It's really a silky smooth video. So really, I love these three features.
I love them too. And what a beautiful photo to finish on, hey?
Thank you.
Well, guys, that was absolutely awesome. Beautiful images, great feedback. Thank you for answering all of the viewers' questions. It's a really exciting time for all of us. We thank you so much for sharing your experience. A final question for all of you, if we can just go around. Do you Z or do you Z? Jeff.
I'm Aussie, it's Z9, Nikon Z9.
Dara.
I'm wedding Nikon Z9. I use Nikon Z9. I don't.
So do you say Z or Z?
Don't return to use GC.
Andrew, are you a Z or a Z? You're on mute.
I'm sorry, I'm a Z, sorry.
You're a Z. How about you, Arjun? Are you a Z or a Z? Arjun.
C. I'll go for C.
Z. And Majed, what about you?
I think I will have two bodies. One is Z, one of Z.
Oh, that's fantastic. So look, on that note, get yourself a Z. So whether you're a Z or a Z, you just need to get yourself a Z9. Thank you all very, very much for joining us. We're going to finish up here. Stay around for the video that we're going to play for you next from behind the scenes with Dara. And yeah, enjoy your night. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
สวัสดีค่ะปุ๋ยดารานภาเพชรค่ะถ่ายภาพธรรมชาติแล้วก็สัตว์ป่าค่ะปุ๋ยใช้นิคอนมาโดยตลอดนะคะตั้งแต่เริ่มถ่ายภาพพอเริ่มถ่ายภาพสัตว์ป่ามันก็เลยต้องฝึกถ่ายภาพมากขึ้นเรื่อยๆแล้วก็พอเริ่มถ่ายภาพจริงจังมากขึ้นอยากได้ประสิทธิภาพของกล้องมากขึ้นก็เลยเลือกที่จะใช้กล้องที่มันมีความเร็วมากขึ้นนะคะก็เริ่มขยับมาใช้ D4S หลังจากนั้นก็ไว้ใจกล้องโปรมาโดยตลอดก็ใช้ D5 แล้วก็ D6 Nikon C9 ค่ะเป็นกล้อง Mirrorless ซึ่งเป็นอะไรที่แปลกใหม่สำหรับปุ๋ยเพราะว่าก่อนหน้านี้เนี่ยใช้แต่ DSLR มาโดยตลอดแต่หลังจากได้ลองใช้กล้องเนี่ยก็รู้เลยว่ามันเป็นกล้องที่ไว้ใจได้แน่นอนเหมือนกันเพราะว่าโครงสร้างมันรู้สึกแข็งแรงวัสดุต่างๆเนี่ยมันประกอบได้เยี่ยมยอดมากจับถือแล้วก็รู้สึกว่ามันเข้ามือกว่า D6 แม้จะอยู่บนมือผู้หญิงแล้วก็ความแตกต่างจากกล้อง Nikon D6 อะค่ะจอที่มันสามารถพับได้ถึง4แกนเพราะว่าหลายๆครั้งเนี่ยเวลาเราถ่ายภาพอะค่ะบน gimbal head ไม่ว่าจะหมุนไปทางไหนตำแหน่งที่บางครั้งเนี่ยมันยากกับการที่จะแบบก้มเงยหรือว่าต้องเงยสูงกว่าตัวเนี่ยค่ะมันก็ทำให้เราสามารถถ่ายภาพได้สะดวกขึ้นบนจอด้วยช่องมองภาพแบบนี้ค่ะมันทำให้เวลาที่แบบเรารอถ่ายนกหรือถ่ายแอคชั่นของสัตว์ป่าค่ะเราก็แบบ เฝ้ามองมันได้อย่างต่อเนื่องเพราะว่ามันไม่มีแบล็คเอาท์อะค่ะเวลากดถ่ายภาพสามารถมองเห็นในเรื่องของการเคลื่อนไหวของนกหรือสัตว์ป่าได้โดยตลอดทำให้มันสามารถเดาทิศทางการเคลื่อนไหวของสัตว์ป่าได้ไม่ว่าจะบินกระโดดหรือว่าแอคชั่นต่างๆยิ่งพอได้มาใช้งานร่วมกับตัว Animal Eyes AF นะคะมันทำให้ทุกใบที่กดชัตเตอร์มันคาดหวังผลได้มากขึ้นว่าฉันต้องได้ภาพแน่นอนSpeed Shutter ที่ให้มามากขึ้นนะคะเฟรมเรทที่30เฟรม per sec อะค่ะมันทำให้เรามีแบบโอกาสในการถ่ายภาพในการเก็บภาพแอคชั่นต่างๆของนกได้มากขึ้นนะคะแล้วก็บนความละเอียด45ล้านพิกเซลเนี่ยมันการันตีว่าเราสามารถเก็บภาพหรือว่าเอาไปใช้งานได้อย่างประทับใจเพราะว่าทุกๆการเคลื่อนไหวเนี่ยมันสามารถเก็บอยู่ในกล้องของเราได้ทั้งหมดโดยรวมแล้วค่ะ Nikon C9 เนี่ยมันสามารถตอบสนองในเรื่องของการถ่ายภาพของปุ๋ยได้มากขึ้นมารู้สึกมันสนุกมันสามารถทำอะไรได้มากขึ้นเรามีโอกาสเก็บภาพที่ก่อนหน้านี้เนี่ยกล้องของเราเนี่ยมันอาจจะไม่สามารถเก็บแอคชั่นได้เยอะๆเท่านี้ค่ะมันก็เลยทำให้เรามีภาพหรือว่ามีโอกาสในการที่จะเลือกภาพเนี่ยไปใช้ถ่ายทอดสื่อสารมากขึ้นนะคะแม้เราอาจจะไม่ได้ถ่ายภาพได้ดีเท่ากับช่างภาพมืออาชีพอะค่ะแต่ว่าถ้ามีภาพถ่ายของเราสักใบหนึ่งที่สามารถเป็นจุดประกายเล็กๆในใจของใครสักคนหนึ่งที่ทำให้กลับมาหันรู้สึกว่าฉันสนใจในธรรมชาติหรือว่าฉันเห็นความน่ารักของมันแล้วหันกลับมาว่าฉันอยากจะรักษาแล้วก็ช่วยกันปกป้องมันไว้เนี่ยหรือว่ารูปถ่ายเหล่านั้นมันก็ทำหน้าที่ของมันได้อย่างสมบูรณ์ค่ะ